We're doing it live. We're doing it live. We're doing it live. Good morning. So I've got a 4th of July. 4th of July is upcoming here. We're on today's the 1st of July, but we're heading into the 4th of July. And so there's been this thing on my mind about the end of the Enlightenment Age, how the Enlightenment Age really ended with the rise of the U.S. government. The U.S. government, in my opinion, is associated with, unfortunately, the end of the Enlightenment Age, and that this is where the end of the Enlightenment Age really began. Now, so there's some interesting things. Now, number one, you have the 1773 through 1776 revolt that occurred in the American colonies, starting with the Boston Tea Party and ending with the signing of the Declaration of Independence. And then if you notice, there's a bunch of other revolts that happen after that. There's a revolt in France. There's revolts throughout Europe. There's a revolt in Germany. And one of the things that I noticed was when I started looking into all this stuff is the first thing you want to look at, right, is you look at the Freemasons. Because you're like, well, it was a Freemason revolt in the Americas, and it was a Freemason revolt in, France and throughout Europe. And this is the same type of thing that the National Socialists were saying in Germany. And at first, that appears to be the way it is, right? And I was just looking. In fact, I have it here on my computer. There's this symbol. It's this is from National Socialist propaganda from what year? I don't know. During the time of Adolf Hitler, and it says Juden Freemason. I don't know how to pronounce this in Germany. Freimaurerei. Juden Freimaurerei, something like that. And it's got the picture of the Masonic compass and square with a hexagram in the middle, and it says 33 on it. And it's, it shows all these revolutions that are happening across Europe. It says revolution in, and it shows Spain 1910, Spain, that's Portugal 1910, Spain 1931 and 36. It's got France 1780, 1830 and 1848, that'd be Germany. 1918 in Russia, 1919 down in, I think, the southern Eastern Europe there. Anyway, it's got all through the Balkan states, right? And over in near Turkey there in 1909. In other words, it's showing all of these revolts, and this is National Socialist propaganda, and it says that this is Freemasonry. Now, I do believe it was connected to Freemasonry. I know it was. I know, for instance, that the revolt that happened in Russia in they've got it here situated at 1905 to 1917. That this is a Masonic revolt. So it's not that it wasn't a Masonic revolt, but what my point is that. So on the Germans, when the Germans were looking at what was happening in Europe with all these revolts, they're saying it's the Freemasons and it's Jewish, right? And that's the same thing that I've been hearing from my Catholic friends for a really long time, is they would say Freemasonry is satanic, Freemasonry is Jewish. The Jews caused all these problems. The Jews caused the revolts in the Jacobin revolt and the revolts against Germany. But I look at it in history, I go, no, it actually wasn't. It actually wasn't Jewish. And let me tell you why it wasn't Jewish, is because although there may have been some Jews involved here or there weren't really any Jews involved in the first revolt, in what was called the 1773 revolt in America. I don't think there were hardly any Jews involved in that, like almost none. And then when you look at the revolt in France, there's still not, I still can't find any Jews. So when I started looking back in history, I go, we've got this propaganda about how the Jews and the Freemasons are doing all this stuff, and I go, well, let me go find these Jews. Or were these Jews over here in the American colonies? No. Were the Jews in France? No. Once you get into the German revolt in 1848, of course, there is Karl Marx. But then I noticed that he happens to be a Jesuit. That he's Jewish, but he goes to a Jesuit school and he's trained by the Jesuits, and all of his friends are and so this was kind of the beginning of my interest in the subject, because it's not really possible to disconnect what happened in the American colonies in 1773 and 1776 and 1790 with the establishment of the U.S. government in Washington, D.C., from the French Revolution, the German Revolution, and the Russian Revolution. And so what I've discovered, having looked at it, is that it was the Roman Catholic Church the whole time. So let me break this down for you. Number one, Freemasonry did allow Jews in it. And this did lead to the Rothschilds throwing a lot of money around to direct those organizations politically and use them for its own purposes. That did happen. But Freemasonry is Christian. And this is the part that my Catholic friends don't understand. See, Freemasonry was Christian. It started out as a Christian order. When Freemasons say that they worship the light, that's Christianity. That's John 1 through 5. That's Genesis 1:3. Order out of chaos. The light of God coming out of the chaos of the abyss, of the darkness. That's Christianity. That's rooted in Christianity. Solomon's temple. That's Christianity because Solomon asked God for wisdom, the Logos. That's Jesus Christ. In the four Gospels, that's called Jesus Christ. That's Christianity. So number one, Freemasonry, whatever it is today. I mean, I'm not saying go join Mason. I'm not a Mason. I'm not saying go join it. To me today, what Freemasonry is probably just like, the Episcopal Church. It's just an arm of the Roman Catholic Church. But the Roman Catholics definitely infiltrated and took over Freemasonry through the Jesuit order. And this led to the end of the Enlightenment Age. We are not living in an enlightened society in America, and we're not living in an enlightened society in France and Germany or any of the areas that came out of this revolutionary period destroyed the Enlightenment. And if you look at all the people in the media, there's no enlightenment. There's no enlightenment on Fox News. There's no enlightenment on any of the cable channels, MSNBC, CNN. It's all darkness. It's darkness. It's perversion. It's war. It's sodomy. It's absolutely evil. It's an evil system of evil people. And at the center of that evil is the Roman Catholic Church, the Vatican. And that doesn't mean Roman Catholics who are practicing Christianity. I'm not saying that they're evil at all. I'm just saying they're delusional. Sorry. They're delusional because they don't understand what's happening, and they're following the Pope. So here's one thing I realized, right? One of the things that they've done is like a Roman Catholic, if they're looking back at what's happening with these revolts, they blame Freemasonry. They go, oh, it was the Freemasons and the Jews that did all this. Same thing that the National Socialists were doing. It's the Freemasons and the Jews that cause all this through Freemasonry, which is satanic. But when you look at Freemasonry, it's not satanic. It's Christianity. It's a purified form of Christianity, which allowed other people who weren't Christians but just believed in God. So it kind of went off the rails on that end. Okay. But so the point is, here's what you need to understand about how the government system works today. We have the two-party system, right? Where does this come out of? This comes out of the Roman Catholic system. The two-party system is the Roman Catholic system. The two-party system is the Roman Catholic system, with the Roman Catholics at the center. And nowhere is this more obvious than in the Weimar Republic, right? You've heard of the Weimar Republic. Everyone talks about the Weimar Republic. Candace Owen talks about the Weimar Republic. Nick Fuentes talks about the Weimar Republic. Lucas Gage talks about the Weimar Republic. Stu Peters talks about the Weimar Republic. And they all blame the Jews, right? Well, at the center party, which was one of the most influential parties of the Weimar Republic, was the Catholic Party, the Catholic Church Party. It's called the Center Party, right? And that became the Christian Democratic Union of today. So that's the party that rules Germany today and is keeping Germany as a military occupied government, occupied by the United States. So let me explain this to you again. Candace Owen, Nick Fuentes, Stu Peters, Lucas Gage, and all the other people that go around talking about the Weimar Republic and how bad it was, and Steve Bannon and all these other people. The Weimar Republic was a Roman Catholic government. It's a Roman Catholic government. Not entirely, but you got to understand the new system of the Roman Catholic Church was to have coalitions of different groups all working together with the Roman Catholic Church at the center. This is the Roman Catholic system. This is the system we have in the United States in Washington, D.C. This is the system they have in the European Union. This is the system that they have ruling over Germany. So at the center of that is the Roman Catholic Party. And then they're in a coalition with Muslims and LGBT and BLM and socialists and Jews and humanists. See what I mean? It's a coalition. This is the new order of republicanism. The new order of republicanism that was brought in by the Roman Catholic Church in America, in Europe, puts the Roman Catholic Church at the center. So when you hear a centrist, right, that's the Roman Catholic system. They're the center, and then you have center right, center left. So they form a coalition with which is called the center right and the center left all working together. And then the fringe right and the fringe left are out of power. So that's how they maintain power, by the Roman Catholic government being at the center with the center right and center left. And they just use these two wings to balance itself out. So it keeps it in balance. And what they call the extremists on the left and the right are out of power, right? So what you get is a LGBT, BLM, race mixed, no values, everything goes, everybody's in a big coalition together. That's not the type of government that the Founding Fathers created, and that's not the type of government that I support. The Founding Fathers created for themselves, originally, what they thought they were doing was forming a government for themselves and their progeny. Not whatever this is, right? This is a Roman Catholic system that they've created. So this all started in, of course, America with the founding of the Washington, D.C., the District of Columbia. Now, why did they form the District of Columbia? Well, what happened was so basically what you have to understand is in the background to all this situation is that the Jesuits had formed a global commercial system with actually the Jewish mafia that was wealthy. So it was like a syndicate of wealthy Jews working with the Catholic Church as the Jesuits. The Jesuits were an order, regardless of whatever they did, good or bad. The thing about them that made them special was that they had a blind obedience to the Pope, whereas the kings were becoming mutinous. So they were shifting, the Vatican was shifting from alliance with the kings to alliance with the Jesuits. The Jesuits were going to be the new class that was going to run the global commercial system. And so the kings revolted against this in 1759 and started a war against the Jesuits and had them expelled from their territories, which led to the signing by the Pope of the decree, or whatever they call it, to dissolve the Jesuit order in the summer of 1773. And in the winter of 1773, in the American colonies, a revolt broke out. A Freemason revolt broke out, and it was incited by the Jesuits because they wanted to set up a base right there in Maryland. Maryland was originally founded by the Jesuits, and they wanted to set up their base there because they weren't giving up just because the kings didn't like it. So they saw America, the colonies, as an area that wasn't enough under the control of England that they'd be able to fight for it. So it was the Roman Catholic Church using Freemasons to overthrow the King of England, get these colonies to revolt, and then put in a new government, which they did. And this was all done by John Carroll and Benjamin Franklin, who was a traitor, and George Washington, who was a traitor, to the King of England and to the Church of England, which was separate from the Roman Catholic Church. And they used Freemasonry to do it, which was originally a Christian organization. So anyway, they set up the base there in Washington, D.C. by telling the colonies that they would repay their loans, so that they would refinance the loans. They would take on the debt for themselves, and then they would pay it out of Washington, D.C. So you have all these little colonies that are in debt millions of dollars, and they say, okay, we'll go along with this plan to build, put this new government together, and then the new government takes the loans, and then they're all out of debt, and then the new government pays off the loans. Now they happen to go to France next and take out the King of France. So his head ended up in a guillotine. They got rid of the monarchy in France. Now, who was doing all this? At first, you think, oh, see, it's just those Freemasons and atheists. But no, it was the Catholic Church doing this the whole time. Washington, D.C. became a Jesuit base. The Vatican wanted a new order without the kings. So this is the whole system now that's coming into being, is the use of terrorism and violence to overthrow these monarchies and bring in a new order through violence, through brutality. And that's what we've had ever since. We don't have an enlightened society. We have what's left of these Masonic organizations. There's nothing enlightened coming out of Washington, D.C. So you could say, well, there's the Scottish Rite in Washington, D.C. Okay, where's the Enlightenment? The U.S. public school systems are dark age toilet culture. There's nothing enlightening coming out of any of it. There's no light. There's no truth. There's no wisdom coming out of these institutions. It's all dark. It's all darkness. And it's same in Europe, right? You have all these Masonic lodges. It's like, where's the light? There is no light coming out of these organizations. It's all darkness. And I believe it's because it was taken over by the Jesuits and turned over into whatever it is now, like the Episcopal Church. It's just an arm of the Vatican. Why do I keep bringing up the Episcopal Church? Because that replaced the Church of England in the American colonies, right? They got rid of the Church of England, and you have all these formerly British citizens who were Anglican, and they had to give them a new religion. So they gave them the Episcopalian Church. And of course, that was so that they wouldn't go back to an alliance with the UK, right? And of course, so you have all these revolutions taking place all over Europe, first in America. And the founding fathers believed in the Enlightenment, and Thomas Jefferson and Thomas Paine and all these guys, George Washington. But they got duped, they got tricked, however it happened. That's not what was carried on. The Enlightenment wasn't carried on into the future. It was just replaced with a dark aged secret societies running everything through proxies on behalf of the Roman Catholic Church. That's why America worships mafia. If you ever there's all these mafia, everything's mafia this and mafia that, and mafia culture in America. It's all mafia. All the movies are about violence and crime and criminals and mafia. That's America. I'm sorry to tell you. It's not anything. It's mafia, it's LGBT, it's BLM, it's violence, it's brutality. All the cities are toilets. The cities in America are dirty, violent, hellholes. That's all. That's it. That's all you got. All the cities in America are dirty, violent toilets. Now the cities in Europe stayed nicer a little bit longer, but not anymore. Now all the London, Paris, Berlin, dirty, ugly architecture. They're replacing this old, ancient, beautiful architecture with this garbage. That's this new stuff, right? Just like when they build buildings all over Orange County, California. They're all ugly. They're all worthless. They're just tilt-up buildings. They're just square buildings. They're all super efficient. In other words, we lost our culture. We lost our culture. You're not even allowed to have a culture anymore. And so anyway, what I'm saying is the Enlightenment Age was supposed to be about truth, about justice, and about wisdom, and about the seeking of truth and living with truth. And that's why I tell you that the Church of America is the solution. An orthodox ideology that excludes the Roman Catholic Church as a power group over the government. In other words, the government in Washington, D.C., or wherever it's going to be, we could just take Washington, D.C. and take it for the Church of America. would say if you want to say you're an American, you have to believe in the Enlightenment. You have to believe in natural rights. See, the Roman Catholic Church progressively destroyed America since its founding. They replaced the natural rights of the Enlightenment age with the civil rights of Dr. Martin Luther King. Right? He's not in Martin Luther King is not Enlightenment. Civil rights aren't Enlightenment. Natural rights were. See, natural rights come from God. They're naturally, they occur naturally. See, it was this whole thing that nobody knows anything about. It's all gone. And the culture in America, the culture in Europe that's not Enlightenment, it was replaced by this new thing, right? LGBT, Dark Age. BLM, Dark Age, right? Flooding America and Europe with Islam, Dark Age. That's all Dark Age cult bullshit. So the idea of the Enlightenment was truth, seeking truth, working with one's conscience to find the truth. So this is what the Church of America would impose on the government. You'd have to believe in the Enlightenment Age. You'd have to believe in natural rights. You'd have to believe in the light of God, called the Logos, and called Christ in the four Gospels. You'd have to believe in that. It's a real thing. It's not an imaginary mythological thing, but the real thing called the Logos, the real thing called the truth. You'd have to believe in that. That would be enlightened. But Russia seems to have come out of it a bit. I'd say Russia's doing better with Eastern Orthodox Christianity than anybody in the West is doing. They came out of it better than anybody. And the Eastern European countries are doing better because they never adopted the absolutely disgusting and just sickness that, so let's not get into that. All of the capitals in Western Europe, right? LGBT bullshit. Gays adopting babies, just as an example. Okay, that's all under the Roman Catholic Church. See, they're the center party. They're the center party. This is their agenda. It's their agenda. Forget about the Freemasons. They're gone. That's destroyed. That was all destroyed by the Jesuit infiltration of the Masonic lodges. So there's no light coming out of there. It's just an arm of the LGBT, BLM, unions, immigration, Muslim garbage that's all emanating out of the Roman Catholic Church. The Roman Catholic Church is the center party. They are the center party, and they have two sides, and they work with center right, center left, right? And then the extremes are cut out of power. So the Church of America party would put itself at the center. So at the center would be the Church of America. And then that's the party in power. So everything would have to align to Enlightenment Age ideas of truth, the Logos from Athens. And that doesn't mean we have to believe everything that Pythagoras or Anaxagoras or Aristotle or Plato wrote, but this concept of the Logos, the search of the Logos, the search for the light of God, that's the thing. That would be the keystone. Not what a man said, but what the Logos is, what the Logos, the truth is. That's the thing where that would be the object of veneration, is the truth itself. Now, as far as Germany and Europe, I believe that that concept of the Logos, because it comes out of Athens, it is the keystone of all European races. Not all these pagan gods and stuff. Not going back to paganism, but the worship of the Logos. That's what came out of Athens. That's what really set the established Western civilization as the high, intellectually advanced system that had sciences, both metaphysics and physics, right? It all came out of Athens. And so, but there's different cultures of Europe. There's the Germanic, and there's the Germanic Nordic, and then there's the Latin, and there's the Greek, and there's the Eastern European. So these are naturally their races and cultures. And so under the system that I'm proposing, the Logos is the keystone, but then the different nations worship according to their own traditions. So they have certain traditions. This is kind of what Adolf Hitler tried to do, making the German state into a race religion, right? It's everything's Germanic. That's good. Make it Germanic. the whole thing about, like, for instance, Hitler and National Socialism, the Jews like to think it was all about them, and that's kind of perpetuated by the Roman Catholic Church. The truth is, it's not all about them. It's not all about Jews. No, it was about the Germans and their race and their culture. You see, that's what it was about, and that's good. That's good for the Germans, right? And that could be good for other people too. Could be good. That's good for the people and the Russians. Make it about your race and your culture and your religion. You see, that's what we need in order to strengthen these different territories. Otherwise, we're in this thing under the Roman Catholic system where we just sit here while we all get killed off, and then they replace us all with foreign populations and Islam, and they're taking all this money from Mecca and they're using it to build mosques all over Europe and America. Well, that's not our stuff. Those aren't our people. That's not our religion. Our religion is the worship of the Logos, not some cube god from Arabia. Okay, the Logos from Athens, not a cube god from Arabia. Now, this Logos of Athens is also tied traditionally with us into Egypt and Atom or Yepata, Japheth, or Amen, the god Amen, the hidden one. So it's tied traditionally to these ideas that came out of Egypt, which were like purified by the Greeks into their basic form, their basic truths, and also in out of the Israelite traditions, with God appearing as the sun. The Word of God is the sun, the light. The Word of God is light. I mean, really, it was the Bible and reading the Bible and understanding the story, understanding the Proverbs and the story of Jesus Christ as the light, and those kind of things. That's what led to Freemasonry. It wasn't Judaism. It wasn't anything else. It was our forefathers reading the Bible and boiling it down to its most basic premise, which is the Word of God is light. You see, that's how they came up with Freemasonry. It is Christian. It's not Jewish, and that's a lie that was started by the Roman Catholics, who infiltrated the organization and used it to overthrow their enemies, and then go, oh, these horrible Freemasons, they're satanic. Well, Freemasonry today, maybe. I don't know what it is today. I just know I don't see it producing any light. I see that all the areas that it touched throughout Europe have all become dark age hellholes, and it's been used as an arm of the Vatican, just like the unions, just like the communists, just like everything else. It's become an arm of the Vatican. So that's my message for July 1st. Have a good day.